Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally reshaping the world around us, artificial intelligence. We're going to cut right through the noise to look at the real advantages and disadvantages of AI. We'll explore how it works for us and, just as importantly, where we need to be incredibly cautious. Let's get right into it.
So, have you ever wished you had a super smart helper? I mean, picture this, a personal assistant standing by 24/7, ready to answer your toughest questions, tell you a story, draw an amazing picture, or even help you brainstorm your next big project. Sounds totally like science fiction, right? Well, that's precisely the core idea behind artificial intelligence, or AI. It's engineered from the ground up to be the ultimate, hyper-efficient assistant in our everyday lives. But what exactly is AI at its core? You can think of artificial intelligence as a highly advanced computer brain. It operates by absorbing and learning from just massive oceans of information, and then it uses that data pool to help people solve intricate problems. Now, here's an absolutely crucial distinction to keep in mind. AI doesn't have feelings. It's not conscious, and it's certainly not alive. But it is incredibly capable of understanding complex instructions and rapidly completing all sorts of tasks based on what you tell it. Basically, it's a brilliant processor of information. Now, the sheer scale of AI's advantages is honestly staggering. It stretches all the way from our living rooms to the entire globe. On a daily, everyday level, it's an incredible educational tool. It can break down tricky math and science concepts for students, or even just entertain us by crafting jokes and stories on demand. But zoom out to a global scale, and it becomes a massive problem solver. Right now, AI is actually helping doctors study complex diseases to find treatments exponentially faster. It's helping farmers figure out the absolute best ways to grow crops to feed more people. And it's empowering scientists to discover entirely new ideas. The real advantage here is how perfectly it scales, from helping you with a single homework problem all the way to tackling giant, global, health and agricultural challenges. And beyond just data and science, AI has some seriously astonishing creative capabilities. To put this power into perspective, modern AI can process, analyze, and translate thousands of words across multiple languages in the exact same time it takes you or me to read a single sentence. With that kind of raw processing power, it's breaking down global communication barriers in milliseconds. But it gets cooler. You can type in a few simple words, and AI will generate hyper-realistic pictures, compose original music, or even render full videos. We're looking at a tool that dramatically expands human expression in ways we literally thought were impossible for a machine. Okay, but here is where we need to draw a hard line. We have to look at AI as a helper versus AI as a replacement, because the absolute most important point to remember is this. AI is a tool. It is absolutely not a replacement for human beings. Despite all those incredible advantages we just talked about, the problem solving, the crazy creativity, the medical research, at the end of the day, it's still just a computer algorithm following a set of instructions. It completely lacks our humanity, our intuition, and a real-world experience. And recognizing that boundary, that is the key to understanding the disadvantages and the risks that are baked right into AI. And that brings us to a hard truth, and frankly, one of the biggest disadvantages of this tech right now. AI can make mistakes. See, because it sounds so remarkably confident and articulate, it is so easy to assume it's always right. But it isn't. Sometimes AI gives completely fabricated answers. It doesn't actually know what's true and what's false the way you and I do. It only knows patterns in the data it was trained on. So if that underlying information is flawed, you better believe the output is going to be inherently flawed too. So this leads us directly into the very real risks of AI. We've got to balance those incredible advantages against some pretty serious disadvantages, and it goes way further than just simple mistakes. Unfortunately, bad actors are using these powerful generative tools maliciously to create fake pictures, fake videos, and spread false information that looks completely real to the untrained eye. And on a more personal level, think about this. If we start relying on a computer to do all our reading, all our writing, and all our problem solving, our own cognitive abilities, our capacity to actually think critically and learn, can actually start to weaken from disuse, just like a muscle. So what do we do? How do we actively protect ourselves against these disadvantages? The answer is pretty simple, actually. Always verify. Because AI can hallucinate information or confidently present totally false data, you just can't take its word as the final truth. You always need to cross-reference what it tells you with human experts, teachers, or trusted established sources. Your own critical thinking is, without a doubt, your absolute best defense against the pitfalls of artificial intelligence. You have to be the ultimate judge of the information it spits out. All right, let's pivot back to the positive. How do we use AI right? How do we maximize all those amazing advantages while actively minimizing the risks? Well, it's all about intentional, constructive use. Use it to explore something new you're curious about. Use it to break down a difficult lesson that just isn't clicking by asking it to explain the concept in a totally different way. You can use it to practice speaking a new language, or use it as an interactive sounding board for creative story ideas when you hit a wall. Notice the theme here? AI should act as a tireless tutor and an assistant to your process, not a replacement for doing the actual work.
Which brings us to an absolute, non-negotiable rule. Don't use AI to cheat, and don't pass off its generated content as your own work. If you use AI to just bypass the learning process altogether, you're falling directly into that major disadvantage we talked about earlier. Remember, our brains only grow stronger and forge new connections when we actually struggle through and solve problems on our own. Bypassing that struggle using AI doesn't outsmart the system. It just robs you of the vital opportunity to grow your own intelligence and capability. I want you to think of it this way. AI is like a bicycle for your brain. It helps you go farther and a lot faster, but you are still the one steering it. Think about it. A bicycle gives you a massive mechanical advantage to cover way more ground than you ever could just walking, much like AI supercharges our daily work and creativity. But a bicycle can't decide where to go, and it certainly can't balance itself. If you steer it into a brick wall, well, that's entirely on you. The human element, your choices, your critical thinking, your responsibility, is the steering wheel. The future belongs to the people who know how to use AI wisely, creatively, and responsibly. We've seen the incredible advantages it brings to science, global medicine, and just our own daily efficiency. But we absolutely cannot ignore the stark disadvantages. The potential for false information, the deepfakes, and the weakening of our own skills if we just surrender our critical thinking. It's a tool of immense, literally world-shifting power, and its impact on your life depends entirely on how you choose to leverage it. So, considering everything we've explored today, where will you steer your bicycle? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.